President of Peru, Pedro Castillo, submitted to Congress a proposal for a constitutional reform that would allow for the convening of a constituent assembly. In Honduras, President Xiomara Castro sanctioned the legislative decrees that repeal the development and employment zones. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas urged the Islamic Community to form the urgent Al-Aqsa army in the face of the systematic Israeli aggression. Hi, this is From the South. I am your news anchor, Dio Martin, from the Telesur studios in Havana. We begin with the news. In Peru, President Pedro Castillo submitted to Congress a proposal for a constitutional reform that would allow for the convening of a constituent assembly. The reform project also includes a referendum which will allow the people to be consulted on whether they agree with the drafting of a new Magna Carta. The Peruvian head of state requested that it should be considered a legislative emergency and be presented for debate and vote in Parliament. This amendment will be submitted to the citizens for approval by the referendum in the next regional electoral process scheduled for October of this year. Cuba's Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez announced on Monday that the United States is excluding the Caribbean nation and other countries from participating in the 9th Summit of the Americas to be held in June in the city of Los Angeles. The head of Cuban diplomacy pointed out that these negotiations are being held in an obscure manner with the exclusion of Cuba and other member states of the Pan American Health Organization, contrary to the mandates of the PAHO. The high diplomat added that such maneuvers have an impact on the substantial cooperation and fundamental financing to confront the aftermath of COVID-19. Bruno Rodriguez emphasized the Cuban medical brigades and its work in more than 50 countries, the vaccines against COVID, as well as the cooperation to face natural disasters and epidemics.
I must denounce that the government of the United States has decided to exclude the Republic of Cuba from the preparations for the 9th Summit of the Americas to be held in Los Angeles from June the 8th to June 10th, and that it is currently exerting extreme pressure on numerous governments of the region that privately and respectfully oppose such exclusion.
The Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez also detailed that the damages caused by the economic, commercial, and financial blockade of the United States against the island amount to $150.41 billion.
Since the year 2021, the damages caused by the economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposed by the government of the United States against Cuba amount to $150,000 billion.
The Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit, will hold talks with the President of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel, as part of his official visit to Havana. Upon his arrival on the island, Roosevelt Skerrit toured the Fidel Castro Center in Havana and considered that the institution is a worthy tribute that new generations should follow in favor of the revolutionary struggle. Skerrit stressed that eliminating the United States blockade against Cuba is a matter of respect for the people of this country. The Minister will be in Havana until the 27th of this month to complete a work agenda that includes a meeting this Tuesday with the Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel, experiences and bilateral projects. The Nicaraguan government announced the Organization of American States' expulsion from its territory and confirmed its withdrawal from the organization. Foreign Minister Denis Moncada said they are withdrawing from all OAS dependencies and the credentials of their representatives to the organization. The Nicaraguan diplomat pointed out that the OAS violates the rights and independence of the peoples of the Americas through interference, interventionism, and invasions promoted by the government of the United States. In this way, Moncada emphasizes that Nicaragua is a free, sovereign, and independent state.
We communicate that Nicaragua expels the Organization of American States. The people and government of Nicaragua have denounced and continue to denounce the shameful condition of one of the political instruments of intervention and domination of the government of states of the government of the United States, wrongly and fallaciously called the Organization of American States.
In this context, the Nicaraguan foreign minister ratified the country's official exit from the organization.
We ratify our unwavering organization of the States as expressed on November 19, 2021, and to confirm our irrevocable denunciation and resignation before this disgraceful, deceitful, and lying dependency of the Department of State of Yankee imperialism. And we also communicate that as of this date, we cease to be part of all the deceit of this monstrosity, such as the Permanent Council, commissions, meetings, or Summit of the Americas.
In Guatemala, junior high school students are promoting their native cultures in different social activities in order to preserve their identity. Let's see more about it.
It is part of cultural practices promoted at the Basic Institute in Sadia that Ja examine Quiche to preserve the culture in the community.
One of our principles and values. Our vision is that the culture of our ancestors continues in the same way, without losing its essence, because we see that with time, new forms of life are added, sometimes lose the essence of our culture.
Language and the use of the Mayan outfits and practices that are strengthened on a daily basis. The white guipil represents the purity and beauty of the woman. It represents the four cardinal points, and the darkness, the napkins, the jackals represent the respect for the Ajo and the respect for nature. They encouraged identity practices because part of it was lost after the genocide during the military dictatorship, which forced several families to take refuge in other countries. We had to take refuge in Mexico, and that implied that we forgot our culture in a way. But then we returned to our village and we continued practicing the traditions of our grandparents. Although the indigenous culture is not relevant in curricula, teachers and parents in several communities are working to pass them on to new generations.
We work on our culture to preserve it. We, teachers, see that it is necessary to maintain it. In all activities, we always emphasize it in order to promote it.
Three indigenous peoples coexist in Guatemala despite racism and discrimination. A majority of this native population maintains its identity.
Rolanda Garcia, Telesur, Guatemala.
We're going to take a short break now. Please join us again after this. Hi, and welcome back to From the South. On Monday, the president of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, enacted two legislative decrees repealing the employment and development zones in the country. The employment and development zones were approved in 2013 to attract foreign investments under a context of illegality by the National Congress, an action that aroused social discontent for representing a violation of the Constitution, surrender of sovereignty, and a clear usurpation of the three branches of government. The employment zones will be eliminated both from the constitutional reform of approval and ratification, as well as from the decree that contains the organic law. Castro said it was the most important day of the 88 days of her administration, as returning sovereignty to the country was an unavoidable commitment with history. In the Dominican Republic, the strike called by popular and social organizers to demand social demands is underway. The demonstration began in the morning hours in 14 provinces of the Dominican region of Cibao and will continue until Tuesday. Among the demands of the strike organizers are to lower the fuel prices and the cost of the family basic food basket, as well as an increase in the minimum wage at all levels. In this context, the leader of the Broad Front of Popular Struggle, Osvaldo Brito, indicated that in a tour through various municipalities of the region, it was verified that the transportation, commerce, education, and productive sectors are totally paralyzed. Monday, Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro received the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, as part of the agenda of the Bolivarian peace diplomacy. During the meeting, which took place at the Miraflores Palace in the capital city of Caracas, the presidents discussed matters of common interest in addition to reviewing bilateral cooperation relations under the premise of consolidating regional integration. The discussion coincided with the beginning of operations of the new air route of Conviasa, Caracas, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, with an average monthly capacity of 360 passengers. According to Brazil's Supreme Court, the armed forces are being persuaded to attack and attempt to discredit the electoral process months before the presidential elections in October. Judge Luis Barroso, member of the Supreme Court, said that the armed forces have recovered their prestige since the reinstatement of democracy in the country. However, he warned about efforts to politicize the military, which he considered a risk for democracy. Let's recall that President Jair Bolsonaro repeatedly questioned the electoral process and has openly said that there may be fraud in the next October elections. According to the polls, Bolsonaro, who is seeking re-election, would lose in the presidential runoff to former President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, who will become a candidate once he recovers his political rights. On Monday, the President of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, and the Minister of Health of that country, Carla Bizzotti, seek that all the services and agents that the health system work in an integrated manner for the conclusion of actions of promotion, prevention, and care of mental health.
The data show that there was a marked increase in the need for mental health care by society, and concern about adolescent suicides is growing around the world. Young people are the most affected. We can do death healings. Mental health was for many years a taboo subject. We can keep feeling it. We are not going to hide it under the carpet. We are not going to let anyone want to say that it's time to talk. Now, today we are dealing with the full recovery of the psychosocial well-being of the population, the specific dimension of mental health. We are going to prioritize paying off another debt, that is the full implementation of the mental health law. I want to call everyone to get involved in this challenge with empathy and sensitivity, always trying to understand who is going through a situation of suffering. In mental health, there are no vaccines, but in mental health, there are actions. That's why we launched the federal strategy of a comprehensive approach to mental health and problematic consumption. We need to join work of different ministries with the 24 jurisdictions with the support of the WHO, the PAHO, and UNICEF.
The Federation of Dairy Industry Workers of Uruguay declared a conflict with the Chamber of the Industry after failing to reach an agreement. The workers denounced a 4.4% wage reduction in 2021 and demand wage negotiation areas, something that the business chambers are denying. The workers' unions also decided that if the situation maintains or worsens, there will be walkouts by hours, by section, and even a general strike in the whole industry and interruption or cutoff of exports. The workers state, despite the growth of the industry both in exports and in production, wages have been reduced in real terms, and working conditions have also worsened.
For the Uruguayan communists, there is no event more moving, more emotional than the act of the 20th, to remember now half a century later what it has been, what has happened with the offering that 8 workers, 8 communist militants, have made of their lives in defense of democracy. Every day makes it bigger and more worthy of our respect. I hope we are a little like them, one fights trying to be so generous and have so much political conscience as to be unarmed guarding the party premises in the midst of fascist repression. Therefore, it stirs a lot, stirs with mouth. We have to be determined that future generations remember them and that here we vindicate the commitments.
We have more news coming up after a final short break. Please stay with us. Palestinian resistance movement Hamas urged the Islamic Community to form the urgent Al-Aqsa army in the face of the systematic Israeli aggression. The leader of the political leadership of the Hamas movement abroad, Khalid Mashal, called on Islamic countries to contribute with social, political, media, and financial support to the army and warned that the final strategy of Israel is the final domination over the entire Palestinian land and intends to put an end to the battle in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. In this context, he stressed that the Palestinian people, after resisting and confronting the occupying forces, will win the battle in the mosque, proving that it belongs only to the Muslims. Iran says that the latest round of talks with its regional rival Saudi Arabia were positive and serious, voicing hope for further progress soon. Tehran and Riyadh, which severed diplomatic ties in 2016, held 4 rounds of talks in Iraq in April and September last year, with a 5th meeting last Thursday.
The fifth round of negotiations between Iran and Saudi Arabia in Baghdad was positive and serious and saw progress. If the negotiations are upgraded to first-class political level, it can be expected that progress can be made swiftly in the different sectors of the talks.
In Sudan, about 160 people are reported to have been killed in recent armed clashes in the Darfur region. The Refugees and Displaced Persons General Coordinator spokesman in Darfur, Adam Ragal, said violence erupted Friday in Krink, some 80 kilometers from Genina, capital of West Darfur, after 2 Arab tribesmen were killed by armed men from the African Masaled tribe. The clashes flared up again on Sunday, leaving at least 98 people injured. Ragal accused pro-government militias of being behind the attack and asked the United Nations Security Council and the African Union to take measures to protect displaced civilians. He urged the International Criminal Court to closely analyze the of the crisis country. In Nigeria, the death toll rises after an explosion in southern illegal refinery. The representative of the National Emergency Management Agency, Ifeanyi Nyashi, informed that the number of victims of last Friday's explosion rose to 110. President Muhammadu Buhari ordered security and intelligence agencies in Nigeria to shut down refineries in the southern oil-producing states of Rivers and Imo, as well as the immediate capture of the owner of the illegal plant, Okenze Oniwoke. Authorities noted that the explosion also destroyed marine life in the surrounding area, which is used for agriculture and fishing. President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, paid tribute to late former President Mwai Kibaki. On Monday, Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta opened a public viewing of former leader Mwai Kibaki's body at the Parliament buildings in the capital, Nairobi. Kibaki left a long-lasting legacy ranging from a strong growth in the regional economic powerhouse, launching major infrastructure projects and boosting the struggling health and education sectors. His rule saw the most violent election in Kenya's history, but he also oversaw the adoption of a new constitution with reforms aimed at preventing said unrest. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who hailed his predecessor as the gentleman of Kenyan politics, ordered a period of national mourning until sunset next Saturday, with all flags on public buildings to be flown half-mast. Russia has opened a humanitarian corridor in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol since Monday. The Russian Ministry of Defense informed that during the humanitarian operation, military action ceased to allow the evacuations of civilians remaining in the Azovstal metallurgical complex in Mariupol. They also stressed the need for the Kyiv authorities to order the nationalist battalion commanders to immediately release the civilians and to show the white flags as a sign of their willingness to proceed with the evacuation. The head of the Russian military center reaffirmed that Moscow publicly and officially declared that there is no obstacle for civilians to leave Azovstal. On Monday, Russia announced the expulsion of 40 German diplomats in retaliation to a similar measure taken by Berlin after the beginning of the Russian military operation in Ukraine. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs sent a letter to the German ambassador declaring 40 employees of German diplomatic institutions in the Russian Federation persona non grata as a symmetrical response to the decision of the German cabinet. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock reacted to the announcement by claiming in a statement that the measure was unjustified. In recent weeks, several European countries, including Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, expelled dozens of Russian diplomats. In this regard, Moscow has promised to respond to each of these measures. Therefore, dozens of Western diplomats have been expelled from Russia as well. Russia began mass-producing a new anti-aircraft missile system, the S-500 Prometei. The announcement was made Tuesday by Yan Novikov, General Director of the Almaz-Antey Consortium, which designed and manufactured the new weapon. In an interview with a Russian magazine, Novikov said the S-500 significantly surpasses previous anti-aircraft systems, the S-400, and its U.S. rival Patriot Advanced Capability 3, and that it will be the cornerstone of Russia's aerospace defense. The new missile is capable of intercepting not only ballistic missiles, but also aerodynamic targets like aircraft and helicopters, cruise missiles, and hypersonic missile warheads. According to official sources, the impact radius of the S-500 is about 600 kilometers, and it will be able to simultaneously detect and shoot down up to 10 supersonic ballistic missiles flying at speeds of up to 7 kilometers per second. We've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at Tell Us Through English. You can also join us on social media for all the latest news. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Tell Us Through English, I am Diego Martin. Thank you for watching.